Hi everyone and welcome to today's card creation where we're going to be using some goodies for WOW with the Fool's Gold, where I've done a DIY cardstock here by just heat embossing a whole panel, and also some uniquely creative stamps and dies as well. I'm going to be stamping that Flawed and Fabulous stamp set in this Aztec Glintz. It's like a really beautiful pink golden shimmer type of embossing. It's beautiful. I've got some watercolor cardstockers here. I'm going to be stamping on the smooth side, and I've got my mini Misty. Now this mini Misty is really great when you're heat embossing on watercolor cardstock to make sure you've got a really good impression. Now I'm going to be using my most favorite watermark ink here, which is going to be the WOW embossing powder in clear ultra slow drying. This is great to really adhere your embossing powders on. So these are the 3 floral images. We're going to be doing all of them, and then we're going to be heat setting it. So the color again for the WOW embossing powder we're going to be using is the Rose Glintz. It's really fine granules, and it's great for details, as you can see here. This is quite a detailed stamp. It's going to be beautiful. I also had a little bit of Versa Fine Onyx black ink on there, but you won't see much of it on once I heat emboss it. It's not going to be a worry for me at all. So I'm going to make sure this is all heat set. Got my WOW embossing powder tool here, and I'm going to put it on heat setting 2. Heat setting tool is really good for when you want to heat set your embossing powder, and setting 1 is really good for like mixed media and drying, gentle drying, so nothing's going to warp. Just really taking as much moisture from your creation as possible, really. Alright, so there is the heat embossed images, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to do some die cutting from a card panel I've just made from the Fool's Gold. So I've just made my own cardstock. I've just put that embossing pad all over it and poured quite generously the Fool's Gold embossing glitter and heat set that. I've got some Altenew watercolor pens here, and I've got my uniquely creative water aqua brush here, and I'm just going to pretty much watercolor these images in. I'm no watercoloring expert, so I am just, how I tend to watercolor is my favorite way is through heat embossing, because it traps the color. I don't have to feel like I have to stay in the lines, and it does it for me. So I just pre-wet my floral image just by brushing over with the clear, nice clean water that's in my brush, and I just brush it over, and then I let pretty much the actual paint do the work for me, and I just layer each petal one at a time. So I pretty much repeat this whole process for the leaves and for the rest of the flowers as well. As I said, I'm not a watercolor expert, but I do find this very therapeutic and relaxing. It's one of my most favorite things to do. And then I'll just start working on the leaves. So making sure that in between each color I do wipe it off on an embossing, like just a cloth on the side. And just now working my way through the greens and the petals. Now this stamp actually comes with coordinating dies, which I will use and die cut off the screen. And now I just add a little bit more of the same color, maybe a touch of the another pink as well, and then that just really, I just keep moving that out. And what I tend to do is I'll clean the brush in between as well, so then I am moving that out even more. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, depending on what kind of look I'm after. I don't want it to be more a perfect look. I just really, plus I'm not really good at making it look seamless. I just kind of go with how I like it and how I want it to look. And now I'm brushing, I'm actually wiping my brush in between, just on a cloth off the camera, so it's not into view, but just so it kind of makes it all clear. So now I just use an array of pinks from that same palette, and I'm just going to kind of figure out I actually don't stick to it in the background. So these stamps come with solid images, and I've got the Tattered Rose from Distress Oxide and also a Catherine Pooler ink in Sandcastle. I like these colors purely because I feel like it goes with the tone of the rose gold and the rose Glintz embossing powder. So I've got a white side folding card panel, and I'm kind of estimating where I feel like I need some of those leaves poking out. I love that this comes with solid images, so you can kind of make a layer behind your actual die cuts. So I'm kind of just playing around, keeping the images there because I wanted to see a little bit of them peeking through. Once I've finished with the Tattered Rose, I do the same thing with the Sandcastle, and I'll use both images of the leaves as well. Now adding touches of the Sandcastle. It's a beautiful latte type of color. It's just so gorgeous. I fiddle a lot here, so I'm just trying to make sure you do see a little bit of those leaves. I'm not obsessed too much about placement. And then once I am happy with that, I kind of play with the layout and use my Lawn Fawn glue here. Now this is going to go directly down everything because I'm going to pop up the actual florals. And I'm just going to center that towards the top and make sure that's adhered down. I'm going to play with the layout again because I didn't take a photo and I didn't pay attention to what I was doing. Alright, so I fiddle around an awful lot with this placement, and I do apologize. I just kind of play around till I find what makes me happy in placing all these down. Now this is where I stamp the sentiment. I'm going to stamp here. I've got my clear block, my rectangle clear block, and using the same Sandcastle ink from Catherine Pooler, I'm going to stamp it on a really thin piece of white cardstock. Now it says, "You are all kinds of awesome." This stamp set has some beautiful sentiments in there, and it's quite touching. So I adhered those florals down off screen, different layers of foam, and then I've got some sequins from Handmade by Brittany Lee from her Etsy shop, and this is the Amber selection. And I'm just going to use some of almost like all these rose gold tones of sequins, just spreading them out throughout my card. And that's what's going to finish off my card for today. So I hope you enjoyed today's card. I hope you visit us over on the blog to see all the goodies and links and a couple of close-up pictures. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again.